Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are listening to Chronic Reflection Show on Inspire FM. I'm your host, Waqas Mirza, and we're joined by Sheikh Noorud-deen Rashid. We're continuing with part 3 of our moon sighting topic. Sheikh, you were talking about visibility charts.
Yeah. So just a final point, and I'll try to move on from this. We've spoken in some detail regarding it, but even moonsighting.com, which a lot of people cite this website for, when they disagree with usually the issue tends to be with the Saudi sighting. They often quote this. Okay, but what I want to point out to people, and they can go onto the website and they can see it, inshallah ta'ala, for themselves, or they can go onto the IHT website that I mentioned earlier and see it there as well. But this Ramadan just gone, for the start of Ramadan, if you look at their chart, they have the red zone where it's not possible to see the moon with the naked eye. Okay, yet one of their own members saw it in India. Okay, and you can read their own explanation there, and they mention that it may well be possible even to see it with the naked eye, and they mention their explanation. They themselves, who do tend to promote the charts, they themselves are accepting a sighting from within, from within a zone which is not, it's not. It's according to their chart, it's not visible. And as far as I understand, it's because it's one of their own members that they're accepting it. This is also a slight concern I have. Some people say, the sighting is always wrong. It's always wrong. Moonsighting.com doesn't accept it. Well, moonsighting.com, it has its criteria, and it won't accept any sightings which are outside of its criteria. No. So it's a bit of an unfair way of kind of analyzing things. If people say, moonsighting.com didn't accept the Saudi site, didn't accept this sighting, didn't accept that sighting. Okay, so they're experts, but they've got their own criteria, and to my understanding, they tend to, if it's not in their kind of visibility chart area, they'll only really accept a sighting from their own members, and even that is quite rare. Now, so just to move on a little bit, with regards to the al-Qura calendar itself. So I spoke about the fact that they have astronomers who, set the calendar itself, and that's used as a guide, not as an absolute. They go against that calendar.
Maybe you want to explain to the listeners what the al-Qura calendar is.
Yeah. The al-Qura calendar is the calendar used in Saudi Arabia and many other places, but it's established by astronomers there, as far as I know, together with ulama. It's established by them, and that's kind of used to identify where we are in the Islamic month. Another thing, I cannot claim to have fully researched this, but another thing I will ask people, just a question. I do hear people, they say that in Saudi they don't sight the moon other than for Ramadan and the 2 Eids. Okay. I know I have a very close friend, alhamdulillah, who currently resides in Saudi, and he said he saw them looking for the Rajab moon themselves. Himself. He actually saw that. So I don't think that's accurate as a statement. Okay, I'm not saying that I can say categorically they look for the moon every single month. I don't know. I don't feel I've done sufficient research on that. But I would say to people that, I know from reliable source myself that it is more than just the 2 Eids and the Ramadan that they actually go out to sight the moon. He said, I saw them myself going out and sighting it. In any case, so what do they look for? So the criteria, and again, you can even take this from the website moonsighting.com. We'll put these things up on the website, inshallah. The criteria they use, they say that if the moon sets after sunset, okay, then they will consider it possible for the moon to be sighted. Okay, because why? These are one of the few things that astronomers are more or less unanimous with regards to, that when the moon is born and kind of when it sets. I'm not saying, I'm not an expert in astronomy, I'm not saying they are absolutely agreed upon it, but there seems to be a lot more confidence in data like that rather than a visibility chart. Okay, so something which there's a lot more confidence and can be understood a lot more precisely, this is what they use. The criteria they have is, they say that the moon, or according to moonsighting.com, they said starting from 1423 after Hijri, their criteria changed slightly to meet two conditions: the moon must be born and moon set be after sunset in Makkah. Okay, this is a criteria that they use. So again, this is something I've been hearing this time, that the moon set before the sun, okay, or at the exact same time as the sun. No. Okay. Sorry, I should add, have in brackets, even by 1 second. Okay, so this is the criteria that they use. They say that the sun must set first, and then at some point after that the moon must set. And yes, we should be accurate and transparent. It seems that even if it's a few seconds or a few minutes after, they will give that consideration. They'll say, okay, so it, since it's setting afterwards, it is there. It is present. So if somebody claims to cite it and our qadi kind of questions and interrogates and feels that this is valid, then we're going to accept it. We're not going to consider it impossible for it to be done. Another point with regards to this is that some people say, look, well, if you look at Saudi Arabia, the moon and the sun set at more or less the same time. Okay, I would say to such people, Saudi Arabia is a big country. And the time of the moon setting is different, and the sunset time is different in various places. I checked, and yes, it's correct that for Makkah Sharif, the data I saw for Makkah Sharif, it is the case that moon and sunset more or less at the same time. But if you look at Riyadh or you look at Medina Sharif, there is a lag time between the two. Okay, it's not massive. I'm not going to say it's 20 minutes, half an hour. No, it's 3, 4, 5 minutes. Okay, and other parts of Saudi Arabia may be more, maybe less. Okay, so the point is, this is the criteria they work with. This is the kind of astronomical criteria they use to decide whether they feel it's worth going out to attempt to sight the moon or not. But to be honest with you, even when the scientific data is even when it's not in line with their own, they may sometimes go out to cite it, but they've never kind of come back and said, yeah, we cited it, even though we believe that it set before the moon had set, before the sun had set. So they have scientific criteria that they use, but it's not the visibility charts. So let's just
before we move on to the concluding remarks, could you just give the website again for the listeners where they can see these quotes?
Yep, and so this was www.islamichometuition.co.uk. The brothers who run the website, they've said it's going to take them a week or so, inshallah, to put these things up, inshallah, but we'll be there, inshallah. Now, some of the other things I've mentioned, people can go and check them themselves. Just one last thing, again from moonsighting.com, there is this kind of, a lot of people they speak about, I know we're getting a little bit technical now, but a lot of people, they speak about this issue of, the moon has to have been born and then so many hours before it can actually be sighted. Okay, they speak about this as an absolute scientific fact. I'll quote from moonsighting.com one last time. So, they said, science can give approximate hours hilal can be seen with naked eye, binoculars or telescope. There is no exact answer because there are many factors that are more important for visibility, such as atmospheric conditions, human optics, experience of the observer, etc. This was in answer to the question, does science absolutely negate the possibility of seeing the hilal with the human eyes, unless its age is, for example, 14 hours?
All right, I think we've gone through the majority of the topics. Let's just conclude there, Sheikh.
Yep. So, in no way am I trying to promote in this talk following one or the other opinion. People can follow whichever opinion they like. They can follow global opinion, they can follow local opinion. The only thing I'm trying to say is stop attacking each other as long as they are following a valid opinion. Yes, you may correct people if somebody say we follow Saudi. You may correct them that no, you can't follow Saudi. You follow global sighting, which is a first Muslim country that establishes and verifies, and that tends to be Saudi. Okay, or you follow local sighting, inshallah. And you kind of correct people if you like, but you can't attack. And whether, as I said, for this year and usually almost all years. Well, all the years I'm aware of, it's been the case that whether you've done Eid on the first day or the second day, you started Ramadan fast on the first day or the second day, it's fine. One is going to be in line with global sighting, the other is going to be in line with local sighting. So that's all I'm calling for. I'm not telling people that they should fast on this day or that day. I'm just asking people to just accept difference of opinion like we do with so many other issues which are valid difference of opinion within the madhahib. We accept them, and we should accept this as well. And this is what I tend to say to people that who say to me, look, why can't we just as a community all agree on something and all do Eid on the same day? I tend to say to them, this is my understanding, I tend to say to them, the current position our community is in, it's highly unlikely for anybody to accept the other's opinion, because the current position is these people are saying, this group saying to this group, you are wrong and I am right. And then this group saying to this group, you are wrong and I am right. So there's an issue of absolute right and absolute wrong. If you're in that situation, who on earth is going to say, yeah, I believe you are wrong, but I'll unite with you? It's not. It just doesn't make any sense. Whereas if we move to the situation which we're supposed to be in, where we say, right, you're right according to local sighting, you're right according to global sighting, so fine, no problem, you do it your way. As a community, when we move to this point, I think it's it's much more likely that we can unite, because we're all accepting, right, the way you do it is fine, the way I do it is fine. You see, just like with Asr prayer, for example, you see, a particular masjid does Asr prayer at the earlier time, alhamdulillah, fine, go ahead, we consider it fine and valid, and we'll just go pray at that time. Another masjid does it according to the later time, fine, well, because why? Because we understand it's a valid difference of opinion, inshallah ta'ala. Just one last thing I would like to end on, inshallah ta'ala, is, as I said, this is what I hope to get from this show, inshallah ta'ala. Try to bring people to a point where we can just accept and tolerate each other. By no means am I saying any time there's any difference of opinion, just accept both. No, as I started off by saying, there are valid differences of opinion and invalid differences of opinion. And there are plenty of things being said about Islam by Muslims and non-Muslims which are completely wrong. And there are many problems we are facing as a community which are completely wrong. And people don't tend to get incredibly passionate regarding those the way they get passionate regarding the moon sighting issue, which is a non-issue. Follow this opinion, that opinion, it's all fine. Whereas issues like, what's being taught to our children in schools, this agreed upon that, some of what's being taught is absolutely prohibited. That's agreed upon. And some people, mashallah, many people I'm sure are very passionate. But in my own experience, I've seen people who are incredibly fired up and passionate about the moon sighting issue. And when it comes to things like that, they are apathetic. And there are many, many other things that are being said, and people are well aware of, the kind of things which are just completely unacceptable, promoted as Islam, or people trying to, move the Muslim community into a direction which is completely wrong, and people are trying to present that out, oh, that's an opinion as well. I hear every now and then people trying to say, oh, it's an opinion that, even, people of other faiths, they're also accepted as believers and they go to Jannah as well. Where's this opinion from? Show me Quran, Hadith that supports that opinion. Show me a Sahabi who had that opinion. Show me a madhab. Show me an alim in our history who had this opinion. That's agreed upon. Why are we not fired up about that? Whereas this issue, which, as I said, non-issue, we get very, very fired up about it. The last thing I would say is, kind of reiterate and just add a point to it, is when there's a valid difference of opinion, we don't need to, tell people their ibadah is invalid. Your fast is invalid, it's Eid. Well, no, it's not Eid according to local citing. You've missed a fast, you need to make it up. No, there's no need for it. But also one thing, some people, they don't agree with or listen to what I'm presenting, okay, and they will stick to their guns and they will say, no, the moon sighting there was invalid, it was wrong. They don't care what the Hanafis, Shafis, Malikis, they don't care about that. They don't care about, the majority interpretation of the hadith. That's it. Full stop, they are wrong. Okay? It's batil, it's wrong, it's invalid. Okay? I sometimes say to such people, if you truly believe that, and you're an imam, and often they are imams in masajid, and you're an imam in a masjid, you actually believe that, then you believe those years where the Hajj or Eid al-Adha is differed over, you believe that people have done Hajj on the wrong day. And therefore, the Hajj is invalid. If you believe that, then you have a responsibility to tell people, everybody who made Hajj this year, and this year, your Hajj is invalid. Okay. We do have to think about the repercussions of the positions that we take. Okay. If you actually believe this, then follow it through. Not willing to do so. Why? Because that's not a popular position or an acceptable position amongst the community. You see? And as I would say, that's completely wrong. Why would you say such a thing? Okay, it's valid, it's fine, it's global sighting, it's local sighting, whatever it is, it's fine, inshallah ta'ala. But if somebody truly believes it, let him stand up and make a khutbah and say that this Hajj is invalid, and this year it was invalid, and this year is invalid. Now, if we're going to, really take such a harsh position, then okay, be honest with yourself. And some of the answers I get, I haven't, every time I've mentioned this to a person who held that opinion, they have reconsidered it. They've said, hold on a minute, actually, yes, I do need to reconsider this, because, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right for me to tell people their Hajj is invalid. Okay, but I've heard some people say, oh, no, but you're forced. So you can't, you're forced to do Hajj on that day. Okay, fine. I'm not saying the people are sinful. When you're forced to do something which is invalid, then that action is, there's maybe no sin upon you, but the action is invalid. If I was forced to pray Dhuhr before Dhuhr came in, there's no sin upon me, but I need to repeat my Dhuhr prayer. You see? So, these arguments, they really do not work. This is why, in my experience, when I've seen senior scholars who seem to, not be so comfortable with the Saudi sighting, for example, and they go with local sighting, khair. And they just say, look, this is what I prefer. But they don't tend to say it's batil, it's invalid. Okay, there are very, very few that, kind of have that position. Most scholars I'm aware of, they don't have that position. And even the ones that do, they don't rubbish it, they don't attack it, because as we've been discussing, you can't do that. It's a valid opinion. Okay, local or global sighting is a valid opinion. They just say, look, I prefer to go with local. Okay, and they say the Hajj of those people is valid because they're following a valid opinion, inshallah. I think we should end it there.
Jazakallah khair.
Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.